to actually be live. And we are live.
Hello, and welcome to QuaranCon2022's panel for the SPFBO 7 finalists for this year. We have, currently we have 7 of the finalists. We've got another 2 joining us as soon as... Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. Let me fix that. There we go. Sorry about that. I had weird sound echoes there. So, as I was saying, we have 7 of the 9 SPFBO 7 finalists here. 2 more of them are 7 of the 9 that we're going to have here today. 2 more of them, Michael Fletcher and Clayton Snyder, will be joining us shortly. But before I ask them all to introduce themselves, I'm just going to say if you could be reminded of our code of conduct for the QuaranCon this year. It's on our website, and it can basically be summed up as please don't be a dick, basically. Our panelists will be adhering to that, and if you could please adhere to it in the chat as well, that would be great. On the website, you'll also find this year's book sale, where you can find a lot of the books at 99p or free, so check those out. And there's also merch on the site, which all proceeds for the merch goes to cover the expenses for this con, and anything extra will be donated to Doctors Without Borders. So it goes to a good cause if we get any more than the cost of the con.
Greetings.
Hello, welcome.
Michael.
We're just about to get into introductions, Mike. You've come at a good time. So right, so first thing I'm going to do, just before we do introductions again quickly, I'm just going to say, if you don't know what SPFBO is, it is an annual competition where 300 books are narrowed down first to 10 finalists, and then 1 winner at the end of it all. And rather than go into great detail about that, I'm just going to refer you to the fact that there is a really good video by Bookborn on YouTube, which, if you want more details on exactly how the competition works, go look that up. It's really great. So with all that out of the way, let's meet all of our panelists. I'm just going to go through you guys in the order that you're on my screen. I don't know if that matches anybody else's screen, but it's on my screen. So say a little bit about yourself. Tell us about who you are, where you are, what you do, and then talk to me a little bit about your book that is a finalist this year. I was going to go to Krystle first, but she looks slightly distracted. So we'll go to Lauren first. Lauren, give us your intro.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lauren. I write under the name LL MacRae. I'm a UK-based author. I write exclusively fantasy. I live in a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere, which kind of equates to living on the edge of a field. We can't even get a pizza delivered here. It's so quiet, but it's really nice for writing. I have been a copywriter up until a couple of years ago. Before that, I worked in marketing communications, so I've been kind of writing for a living for a while now. It's just a lot more fun to write about dragons than it is about insurance and sales and things like that. So my book in this year's SPFPO is called The Iron Crown. I have a copy of it here. It's the first book in a trilogy. It's epic fantasy, dragons, magic, adventure, kind of classical quest fantasy, a lot of fun, quite light-hearted. Yeah, it's the first book in a brand new series. I'm very excited about it and pleased that people seem to be liking it so far.
Fantastic. Good introduction. Thank you. Krystle, are you with us?
Yep, I am here. I was settling a fight, so no one's bleeding, everyone's good. So my name is Krystle Matar. I am the author of Legacy of the Brightwash. It's in SPFBO, that's why I'm here. I'm situated in a pretty rural area of Canada, and all my children are running wild outside. That's why I look like an aviator at the moment. Otherwise, I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad to have found such an amazing community, and I'm feeling a lot of emotions, and I'm going to blame Virginia for it, for the grief panel on Saturday and how great it's been. So I think I'm going to stop babbling now, though. Just that it's good to be here.
It was a good babble. I enjoyed it. Well done.
Yeah.
Tim, you're up next. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Hardie. I live in Derbyshire in England, so UK-based author. Write full-time, so I have a full-time job. I work in the finance and commercial team for an organisation, and writing's kind of been my escape. or my release, find something different to do in sort of a contrast to that, really. And it's gradually starting to take over my career. So kind of trying to sort of, in a way, almost balance two jobs now rather than a hobby and a job, which is what it was maybe, 10 years ago or so. My entry for SPFBO this year is Hall of Bones, which I'm covering the title of, and don't know how to point it at the camera. It's like there. So it's basically a dark epic fantasy, I'll describe it. It's Viking inspired, but very much work of fantasy. First book in a series of 4 that I'm writing called The Brotherhood of the Eagle. And yeah, that probably covers it really. Plenty of sort of dark magic, lots of intrigue, politics and shenanigans, basically, which is a word I've started to use as a result of SPFBO, and I've no idea what it means, but it seems quite applicable for this one. So yeah, that's me.
An excellent word. I like it a lot. Kerstin, you're up next.
All right. So I am Kerstin. I am Filipino American, originally from the Bay Area in California, but I've spent most of my adult life away from home. I had high hopes of being a translator, so I studied and lived in Taiwan and Germany and the Philippines before settling in Germany, where I am now. My interests are Muay Thai and art. SPFBO turned my world upside down because now I have writing as part of my hobbies. And my entry in the competition is Burn Red Skies. It has airship smugglers, interdimensional dragons, and elemental magic.
Very nice. Jen.
Okay, so I'm Jen. I write under JD Evans, and I was a Army brat growing up, and then I got into the Army, and I did 10 years in the military, and I spent quite a lot of time in the Middle East. And I've written, I think probably everybody will say the same thing, I've been writing since I was a little kid. And I've always wanted to be a writer, and it just sort of clicked for me after my first son was a year and a half or so. I just decided that it was time to get going, and my sister had previously self-published, and my little sister, so I followed in her footsteps with this series that I'm writing now, of which my SPFBO entry is Reign and Ruin. It's the first in that series. It is a fantasy romance. There are longing looks. Do not be surprised. And yeah, I actually had not heard about SPFBO until last year. A few mutual author friends had entered, and I think sometimes fantasy romance gets a little bit of a bad rap, and so I just wanted to try. I did not expect to make it to this round at all. I thought in the very beginning somebody would be like, there is kissing in this book and we're done. And so, but that's not what happened. So here I am.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And don't anybody take this personally, but the next person up has probably my favorite name, because she is the Christmas angel, Holly Tinsley. Though it's properly pronounced Tinsley, just for the record, I know, but it's a thing. Let it go. Holly.
Tinsley is fine. I've been called worse, trust me. Yeah, hi, I'm Holly Tinsley. I write under the name HL Tinsley. I live in the UK, in Shropshire, which I believe is the 3rd most popular of all the shires, after Gloucestershire and the Shire. And I do have something really interesting to say about myself, but there's a cat just sat outside my window meowing to get into my house. It is not my cat. I don't know whose cat it is, so I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. However, I will tell you about the book. So the book that I entered into this year's SPFBO is We Men of Ash and Shadow, which hopefully you can see, but the cover is very dark. So like the book, it is a gaslamp, grimdark, low fantasy. So it centers around assassins in this corrupt, shady city where they basically go on a journey to uncover secret plots and a potential revolution. And it's full of dastardly people doing dastardly deeds.
Fantastic. Sounds good. On to Ben. Tell us about yourself, Ben.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben. Ben Galley. I've been writing books for the last, ever since I was a kid, like Jen said, but publishing since 2010. This year's entry is, I think, my 13th book. It is The Forever King. It is the first of the Skeleton Chronicles, which is kind of like a sequel series, but also it's its brand new series and its own series. And it's based on my world of Emaneska, which I started with, in 2010. It was like literally about 100 years ago. And I'm British originally, hence the accent, even though I live out in Canada. And I live on the West Coast in Vancouver. And when I'm not writing, I'm usually kind of trying to snowboard, just snowboarding badly, gaming, terribly as well. I like to cook, I like music. My background's in music and marketing as well. And so, I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. We're happy you're here too. And we're very happy that Michael and Clayton have joined us. Michael, tell us about yourself.
Hi, Michael R. Fletcher, co-author of Norilska Groans with Clayton, that man there. It's kind of this Russian influence, dark fantasy. And Clayton, what do you think? I love throwing it, just putting him on the spot. He hates it, so it's
not fair. I wish I could have put someone on my spot to introduce me because I sucked.
I'm just gonna grunt monosyllabically, and Clayton's gonna
okay.
be,
Fletcher, after after Clayton introduces you, you have to introduce me. How about that?
All right, sounds good. Go, Clayton.
I'm all good. You guys carry on.
I am Clayton Snyder. I am co-author of Norilska Groans. Sometimes I am Michael Fletcher. So mainly I am, in my day-to-day life, I am a system admin and web developer for a small company. As far as hobbies, I game, I write, I try to play guitar, but that never works out. I'm sure to Mike's dismay, but that is me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Right. So, Krystle, you gonna introduce Mike, or Mike, are you gonna introduce Krystle?
Oh, he's gonna introduce me because I sucked.
All right. So this is Krystle Matar, author of the absolutely brilliant Legacy of the Bright Wash. First book in the series. It is and was. I think I read it last year. Actually, it was the best book I read last year, and it is upsetting to no end that it is in the contest this year against my book.
Losing against you.
And that it's a
I can vouch for the fact that
we're
Fletcher
nowhere near done.
Brightwash last year in our SPFBO 6 server, he was telling us how good Brightwash was. So he's not just making.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. So there we go. Legacy of the Brightwash, Krystle Matar. How was that? We're okay? We're good?
Thank you. I feel a lot better.
It's a pretty
now.
good introduction.
Right.
Now you have to do the same for everybody else, Mike, to be fair. Go on.
Yeah.
So anyway, SPFBO, it's coming down at the end. It's pretty tight, isn't it, guys? Like there's not a lot in it. The reviews are very varied. This is way unpredictable. How are you? How are you coping? Who's on the verge of a nervous breakdown?
I'm still angry about last year.
Look, if you haven't got over it by now, I don't know what to tell you, mate.
Oh, dude. I got years of this left.
To add insult to injury, now Justin's here in your
it's
year.
Like he's like, oh, this is gonna
You
sting.
can't get away from this guy.
I just came back to haunt you, man. That's the only reason Virginia asked me to host this.
Oh.
Seriously, how are you guys doing? How are you coping? Are you looking after each other? Because it's nerve-wracking right now, isn't it?
I'm
Krystle's
really glad
the weaponized friendliness and support in our Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
she
approaching
playing
it like
mom?
it's actually a weapon. Like you will be supported, you will be encouraged, no matter what your score. It's frightening, but it's appreciated.
I go searching through reviews to find the best lines so that people can know that how awesome they are. Because, like, we're 10 out of 300. Like that means something, And though it feels really harrowing to go through the very visible judgmental period or judging period, we're here for a reason, you know, and I mean, the reasons are hard to define because it's luck and it's timing and it's who you were against and it's which judges you got, but we all worked really hard to get here, and thank you, luck, and thank you to our judges for placing us here. But the hard part, we put all that in a couple of years ago when we were writing these books, and now it's okay to go through these reviews and find the good stuff. So that's how I'm coping.
Cool. What about everybody else? How are you guys doing?
Drinking more.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's fun. Yeah, no, it's weird because I mean it's more high profile and concentrated than your average review that you might get on Amazon or from a blogger here and there. And so yeah, it's kind of it feels more high pressure. I thought I mentioned this I think in another panel we did, but I thought I had good kind of like review armor, like pretty thick after these years, and getting some some fantastically terrible reviews, sensical and nonsensical. And so I thought I was pretty sorted, and also going through an SPFBO as well beforehand. And no, some this year have like really tested that metal. So yeah, but otherwise it's all it's all in good fun. It's a competition. I still enjoy it darkly.
Grand. What about the rest of you? Anybody else want to talk about how you're feeling? How's it going?
I think it's interesting because it's like you get counseled a lot as an author not to look at your reviews, which is fairly wise advice. But in this particular scenario, you look at these high profile reviews like Ben said, and they hurt a little more if they're harsh or and I think for me personally, as I said, I didn't really expect to be here, so I'm just kind of happy to be here. So that it doesn't surprise me when I think I get dinged for the things I expect to get dinged for, but it is interesting to really be like hanging on every word of these reviewers, because it's just a little bit hard on the old mental state.
It is, it really is.
Yeah,
Tim, how you doing? Oh, sorry, Clayton, go ahead.
Sorry. Mike and I had talked about this a little bit. We didn't really expect Neurosis to get as far as it did, as dark as the book is. So I'm not sure how he's doing, but I have a full-time job. It's keeping me busy. I don't really see reviews unless somebody tags me. And even then it's like, oh, here's the review, I'm back to work. So I'm probably the least stressed out of anybody here.
So you just got enough going on that you've got other things on your mind.
Yeah, for the most part.
Good. Well, I was going to ask Tim. Tim, do you want to tell us how you're doing?
Yeah, may as well. That's why I'm here. Yeah, I think for me it's quite distracting. It's kind of like a bit like everybody else. I never quite expected to get to this point anyway. I just wanted to come in and experience the whole thing. But I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd make finals. But it's kind of like always there now, which is a good thing, because obviously I'm enjoying the exposure. I'm enjoying meeting a wider group of writers and getting that kind of network build. That has been fantastic for all of that. But unlike Clayton, I have a full-time job, and I'm still thinking about this competition during it sometimes. I probably should be thinking about word. I shouldn't admit that was a live broadcast, but it's done now. It's just a bit distracting, and it's a day the day when I get a review. No, but yeah, I'll be the person that is sort of browser refreshing and scrolling and checking all the time. And I found it very hard to get back into writing while sort of like keeping tabs on this and promoting good reviews and that kind of thing, and just taking part in all the chat that goes with the competition, really. So I've enjoyed it, but I will quite welcome the end when it kind of goes back to a bit more normality and I can get back to the writing, which is actually why I'm here in the first place. So it's been a positive experience, but just for me a little bit, I think anxiety and worry creeping in quite a bit. I don't mind admitting that.
Yeah, it's a real double-edged sword, isn't it? Kerstin, you've had, as we were talking before we came on, you've had 3 reviews in 2 days. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, I thought I was doing all right. I was getting used to the rhythm, like chatting with my SPFBO buddies every day, just sort of chilling, while we all got our reviews. And then I got 3 pretty much at once. I think 2 today and 1 last night. And they've all been lovely, you know, they've been largely positive, but exposure, like whether positive or negative, means and even requires being a bit exposed, which I think we can all agree with is a little terrifying, no matter what that exposure is. So I thought I was doing all right. I think I still am, but I got shook.
Fair enough. Understandably. Holly, how are you?
I'm actually not too bad. I would say that at the moment my SPFBO stress levels are quite low. I've kind of gone with a similar technique to Clayton in that other stuff is kind of like taking over my time at the moment. So I knew at this point I might potentially be stressed out by it. So what I decided to do, which was really smart of me, was to release another book during SPFBO, which now I'm in the middle of it was probably not the best idea, because now the stress of that has superseded anything that SPFBO can throw at me. So it's like SPFBO stress is here, new book launch stress is here. So, you know, it's clearly it's worked, but I probably wouldn't recommend it as a tactic for anyone.
Fair enough.
Releasing a book during the SPFBO buzz helps the book launch, doesn't it?
I mean, that is my hope. I mean, one of the obviously the big benefits of doing this is the extra kind of publicity and attention that we get. However, that comes with the nerves that come with that as well. So, but you know, I think potentially it's a great platform to launch. And I you know, other people that are in this competition have got other things coming out as well. So all this kind of buzz around SPFBO, I think, just adds into helping get the name out there, get the book out there, and the work that we do.
Absolutely. And Lauren, how are you coping?
I thought I was doing okay, but April has really ramped things up like massively. I've been dreaming about the contest for some reason, so obviously my subconscious is working on it feverishly. I didn't realize quite how difficult it would be. Like a couple of the guys have spoken about this. But trying to write in April is really hard. Like every time there's a Discord notification or a Facebook notification, I get like this little jolt of what's happened. Is it a review? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it me? Is it someone else? You know, do we need to commiserate? Do we need to celebrate? And just kind of, it's a real roller coaster of emotions, because there's kind of long periods of quiet and then a massive flurry of stuff, and then it's quiet again. So personally, I struggle with anxiety anyway, so I'm definitely noticing it like intensifying in these last few weeks. Like if you compare where we are now to where we are at TBRCon, it's not a lot of time has passed, but the emotions I think are poles apart.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I don't know if you've said a great deal, Fletch, but I think we're just going to assume that you're fine, are you?
Oh, just yeah. It's kind of funny. I think maybe 2 weeks ago, you know, on the our sort of our group chat, you know, it was basically like, it's nothing, you know, I'm nipples deep in 2 new books. I've got too much to think about. There's zero stress. I'm too busy with other shit. And then really April kind of landed. And at this point, I basically log in each day and scream incoherently at them. So I was like,
and we love you, buddy.
Coolness is gone. You know, it's like, crap.
Literally,
I do not recommend trying to write a direct sequel to your SPFBO finalist while it is a SPFBO finalist. I've found that really, really hard, because you look at those reviews and people say, oh, I wish there was more of this and less in this. And you look at your sequel and go, oh no, which one do I listen to? The answer is none of it. Listen to none of it. Just keep going. But that's been really hard to kind of keep the blinders on and keep working. And so I can confidently say that this has delayed my sequel a little bit.
Oh dear.
I think it's informative though. I mean, that's one of the benefits that I've been finding, because I knew going in, I mean, like, you know, it's a sequel story. Well, it's not a sequel story. It's a story set in an existing world. I mean, my Emaneska series and Scouts and Chronicles are just Nordic epic fantasy, brutal, but kind of a lot of high magic, a lot of different things going on in storylines. And it's kind of my homage to kind of the Chosen One trope and it's a siege book, magic school. It's got loads of different things in it. So I know it had loads of facets and also kind of was quite linked to the previous series. So there's characters shared in both series. And that's come up quite a lot in the reviews. So it's almost like kind of an informative, I don't know. Yeah, it's a benefit that I can go, right, maybe there is, something I can not necessarily change, but learn from and, adapt in the marketing. Who knows? It is useful.
The marketing, yeah, I find it's very insightful to where your strengths are, where the market will see weaknesses, and then also who to pivot toward going forward. Like we kind of can go through and see like, okay, I see a trend where people who like this, this, and this are also going to like me. And that's been really helpful.
Fantastic. Okay, so that segues quite nicely into the next thing I want to talk about is that, so I'm aware, I imagine every year, it was certainly the same last year, and it looks to be the same this year as well with you guys, that there's a really varied spread of, in terms of experience and history of your writing careers as you come into this. So what I'd like you guys to do is just to talk a little bit about your history that's brought you to here. So what has been your publishing past in a nutshell, to get you to this SPFBO final? And I'll take a slightly different route this time. So we'll start on the left of my screen and we'll start with Tim.
Yeah, my sort of journey of ignorance, basically, because I did not really appreciate independent publishing existed when I started writing. I suppose I was writing for pleasure, kind of on my own. I wasn't part of any writing groups or anything like that. So I had a very narrow view, and I just thought, if you're writing a book, you get it to an agent and you get trad published. And that was basically what I tried to do in the sort of beginning, really, was I wrote a book targeting that kind of approach. And that book ended up being Hall of Bones. Hall of Bones is the book that actually got me agented. So John Gerald represents me. I think he represents Ben as well, doesn't he? Yeah. So yeah, good guy. And yeah, that was a massive help. But ultimately, Hall of Bones got lots of really good feedback from publishers, but it never actually got that final tick. It never got a yes. And I just got to a point where I was sort of writing that book and also wrote sequels to it as well, sort of waiting for something to happen. And I kind of, during that point, I started to embrace social media a bit more, found out a bit more about the independent world of publishing, what that could look like. And I just got to a point where I thought, you know what, I'm publishing this book, and if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? Because I knew it was good enough. I knew it deserved to find an audience, but I was just on the wrong route, really. So yeah, I kind of flipped that around in 2020, and that's how I put Hall of Bones out. So I kind of I suppose my horizon just widened, I suppose. And I think also I never actually believed I could independently publish, because I thought it'd be really, really hard and really, really difficult. And it's not dead easy, but it's not. If I can do it, frankly, I think anybody that thinks they can write a book, it is possible. If Tim Hardie can get onto the internet and actually make these things happen, anyone can. So that's I think I've surprised myself with what I've been able to do by sort of taking that leap, really. So yeah, kind of a trad journey to begin with. I'm still traditionally, I'm basically looking at a hybrid author model. So I'm also traditionally looking at traditional publishers still for other projects at the moment. But yeah, I'm very happy with the indie experience for Hall of Bones.
Fantastic. Kerstin, tell us about your journey to here.
So I ended up in SPFBO by accident. So I draw a lot. That's my background. I love illustrating fantasy, especially inspired by video games, which to me is just a beautiful form of storytelling, just the visuals and how they connect text to create a story. And so I love drawing fantasy, like elements, fantasy symbols and all that. And at some point, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I started giving each drawing sort of a background. Yeah, nothing big, just a couple of sentences per drawing, and they sort of connected in cool ways, I thought. And they connected enough and formed the bare bones of Burn Red Skies, which is my finalist for this year. And to make a full confession to everyone, like I hadn't heard about SPFBO until I published. A friend of mine, Cindy, if you're watching this, Cindy, this is what you did to me, told me to join. And I heavily underestimated what this competition was, because, if people tell you, hey, join this competition, I submit the manuscript and sort of it's out of my hands. I was not on Twitter. I was not really on Facebook. I was sort of in the shadowlands of Instagram, where SPFBO is not really active. So I didn't even follow any of phase 1. I didn't know phase 1 was happening. I didn't know you could follow all of these things. I feel like it was just like full on Hunger Games. And while it was all happening, I was like getting a hot dog somewhere. I came back like, whoa. And like, I actually didn't know I made the cut until Cindy, told me about it. So that was really cool. And since then, it's been such a blast, such a roller coaster that I did not know I was on until we made the first plunge, basically.
Fantastic. And you must, it's been a very pleasant surprise for you, I presume.
Yeah, that's an understatement, but yeah, it was a pleasant surprise. Let's go with that.
Fantastic. And from that to somebody who I know has a more lengthy list of career behind them, Ben, talk us through how you got from there to here.
I mean, yeah, originally I was working in kind of hospitality. I was basically studied music after writing my first books when I was a kid. I went down loads of random paths. I was going to be a pilot in the RAF, and I turned down a scholarship on that one. I was going to be a meteorologist for a while. Followed all sorts of stuff, followed music for a good long length of time. And then while I was doing that, fell back into writing. I had the idea for Emaneska just quite literally pop into my head one day while I was watching BBC's Merlin, I think it was. No offense to that show, but I was just like, this is shit. Where's the blood and gore and grimdark in this? And there was none. So I was like, fine, I'll write it myself. And so that's kind of what Emaneska was kind of inspired by. Yeah, and I was working just in pubs and bars. And when I was just on the cusp of publishing my first book, The Written, in 2010, I was working in this tiny little box kiosk in Guildford train station, serving pasties to angry commuters. Really fun. So yeah, I was literally just like with the red pen and a stack of paper in the back, just covered in crumbs and yeah, covered in like coffee and stuff like that. It was kind of a low point. So that really drove me to self-publish. And yeah, I got that done in 2010 and just kept getting the books out as quickly as possible. And so finished the Emaneska series by, I want to say 2013, maybe 14, can't remember now. And yeah, and at the same time, I wanted to help other authors because I'd kind of made quite a few mistakes and, learned a lot in the kind of like the self-publishing stages. And so yeah, I just started helping other people doing that, and have the pleasure of doing a lot of different talks and workshops and things like that. I was a Guardian masterclass tutor for a little bit. And then from there, just, yeah, kind of skipped between a lot of genres. Went from the Emaneska series to Scarlet Star trilogy, which was Weird West, alternate history, steampunk, YA. So kind of a bit of a shift from Nordic epic gritty fantasy. Yeah, did Chasing Grey's trilogy, The Heart of Stone, standalone book. And then yeah, back onto Emaneska or Skeleton Chronicles. And the second one has just come out. I say just come out like months ago. And I'm currently working on the third. And then yeah, I entered one of the Scarlet Star books, Blood Rush, into the first SPFBO. And yeah, I'm still not over that because that was close. That was really close. So yeah, hopefully, yes. Yeah, Michael McClung, wherever you are. That's still my nemesis. And yeah,
I play D&D with him occasionally. He's a very happy guy.
You tell him I'm still watching him. He's still in danger.
I'll let him know to keep an eye over his shoulder.
That's it.
Fantastic. Let's go, Lauren. Tell us about your journey.
Okay, I was thinking when Ben was talking about how far back do I go. So I started writing like novels a bit more seriously with National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo. Some of you might have heard of it. It's like a challenge every November to write 50,000 words of a novel. It's to try and get you to write the book that you always said that you wanted to write. So I did that for a few years. And one of my nano drafts became my first published novel, which was Marauder back in 2017. I discovered, like Ben, I also call it SPFBO, not SPFBO, I'm really sorry. I'm
non-denominational, it's just what I call it because I was told to by Laura Hughes.
It is the way. SPFBO. I
know it's very divisive, and I'm really sorry for any SPFBOers who look at me angrily when I say SPFBO. But I discovered it the same year that I published my debut and decided to enter it the next year. Which was an experience. I was kind of very new to the whole publishing thing, didn't really know what was going on, didn't know any of the authors, but was quite happy that it made a semi-finalist. So I thought, oh, okay, that's given me a bit of a confidence boost that perhaps with another series, maybe I'll one day make the finals. So I wrote more books in that series. There's 4 books out so far with another 2 to go, but as what happens with other writers, you get that new shiny idea and it just kind of doesn't go away. So I started writing a brand new series. I changed my author name, made some big life changes, and decided I was going to do like clean slate, brand new series, brand new book, different universe completely, and give SPFBO another go, which I did with the Iron Crown and made semi-finalists. And I was very, very happy, and I thought it was going to win there, because you have people like Galley and Fletcher and so on who are in the finals. And I was like, well, I'm not quite there yet, but it's, you know, if I get eyes on the book, it's a good idea. If I get some feedback, that'll be useful. You know, run a couple sales, that sort of thing. So to make the finals was very unexpected, and it was all I wanted to do. So the fact that I've now been in it for 6 months with the stress and the roller coaster and the highs and the lows, I don't know, I just didn't think that it would be such a big thing to be in the finals. I thought I would, you know, be one of the 10 and that would be that. So I feel like even now I'm learning more about the contest and kind of everything that entails. But it's been all right. It's been good. And yeah, very enjoyable so far.
Fantastic. Holly, tell us about your trip.
Well, first off, I'd just like to start by, I'd like to call out Ben Galley's comments there on Merlin, which is my favourite escapist TV show. It's so good.
I did wonder at no offense, but this is shit. It's like, what do you think no offense means?
I felt personally attacked there just for a moment.
I only watched 1 episode, maybe 2, in my defense, when it first came out. And yeah, so I must say, yeah, I didn't press on.
Give it another chance and thank me later. I mean, in terms of my writer journey, I sort of used to dabble in writing from quite an early age, but I would kind of write a little bit, but not anything particularly lengthy or good. So I used to write sketches for me and my sister used to do comedy shows using my dad's really old 80s style video camera. So that was kind of my only foray into writing until about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I basically decided that I wasn't enjoying the career that I had. And I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. So I was in the fortunate position where I was able to cut back on work, and I basically sat down over the course of about 3 months and just wrote out the first novel that I ever wrote, which was then followed by another 2. So I wrote a 3-book series, learned a lot from it, kind of got to know who I wanted to be as an author, as a writer, and then shelved that project and kind of would refer to that as my learning project. And then I wrote We Men of Ash and Shadow straight after that. So I kind of feel like comparatively to a lot of people, I don't have the most interesting or lengthy writer journey, but I think it was just something that was always in the back of my mind. So I've always done creative projects. So I've been involved in art, in drama, theatre, music, pretty much anything that's artistic. I've tried it and failed at. And I think I had to go through all those different things first to then be able to find the writing, which, you know, fingers crossed, so far, I don't feel like I'm failing at. I feel like I'm doing quite well. So, you know, my journey kind of was more of a discovery of what I shouldn't be doing, rather than knowing straight off that writing was for me. But I think for a lot of people, that is the way it works. I think you have to see what doesn't work before you see what does work.
Yeah, I think that's true. Clayton, how did you get here?
I took the long route. I started about 10 years ago. And I actually landed a trilogy, a YA trilogy with a small press, and then a weird occult novel. And then I kind of decided I wanted to start doing things on my own. And most of what I write isn't what you consider mainstream by any means. So it's odd at best. And I ended up writing the Obsidian Psalm, which Mike picked up and decided that we should do something insane together. So,
which was a semi-finalist last year, right?
Yeah, yep. I've actually been in SPFBO 3 years in a row as semi-finalist. This is my first finalist, so always a bridesmaid sort of thing. So,
okay, cool. Jen, you talked a little bit about how you got here already, but flesh it out for us.
Sure. So I was, I've always written as like, it's been as much an escape for me as like video games or reading. And I was at the embassy in Beirut for one of my deployments, and I really loved Lebanon. It's a really fascinating country with amazing history. Ancient history has always been particularly interesting to me, and I just wanted to set something there. It's Mediterranean. It's beautiful. There's really, the geography there is incredible, and the people are amazing as well. They're very warm. In many ways, it's pretty moderate for a Muslim country, and the food was amazing. It was just an incredible place to spend time, and I just started kind of dabbling with writing something in that world, and then fast forward several years, and I had just come out of having my first kid, and I really, I was out of the workforce. I was really kind of floundering, and I just decided that it was time. And I'm really lucky. Like I mentioned, my sister has been my writing partner all our lives, and she has been pushing me for years. And I didn't want to self-publish. It was really falling victim to the stigma that is still there, less so, but still. And then I just got over it, and I got an editor, and I put Reign and Ruin out, and I put the next 2 books out in the series really fast, and then I flamed out. So I still owe people some books, but anyway, I had watched the last couple years of SPFBO, SPFBO, also kind of denominational, but SPFBO is faster to say. And it was really interesting, and I loved the spotlight that it shone on really very good work that was happening in the indie community, work that I don't know that you can actually see in traditional publishing, and because we have so much more freedom. And that was how I felt about Reign and Ruin, and I just wanted to put it in to kind of bring more attention to fantasy romance as a viable, like, it's genre, and so that's how I ended up in the competition.
Fantastic, great. Fletch, you've got a bit of a storied history, haven't you?
Yeah. So I always wanted to write books, and tried many times for decades and never finished anything because it turns out it's actually kind of difficult, and I am super lazy. I finally did finish a book. First one landed with like a small press, but that was kind of all it took for me to finishing that first book. Told me I could finish a book, which was for me important. Second book, much easier to write, landed with Harper Voyager, that's Beyond Redemption. Ended up self-publishing the sequel for reasons, and after that it was just a sort of an addiction. I'm a junkie for the process. I absolutely just totally get off on it. And so I think Norilska is my 10th or 11th novel. I'm actually not sure. I can't remember. And I just went nuts, writing. Part of it was working in a warehouse for a long time, where not much happened. So every break, every slow moment, I'd be working on a book. And last year was my first SPFBO year, and I came second to somebody, and that was
never heard of again.
Yeah. it was an amazing experience. Met a lot of like great people, and what that did for the book, for Blackstone Heart, was insane. Like even coming in second, it was nuts. I got really lucky. I was able to schedule the release of the second book right at the end of the finals, and
that's good marketing, man.
It was mental. Like I've never seen pre-sales like that before. It was nuts. And a third book's coming out shortly after these finals. So anyway, yeah, here we are years later, in it again. Glutton for Punishment.
Fantastic. Quite right too. And Krystle, tell us about your journey. I see you've lost your sidekick.
Yeah, she's wandered off again. I mean, I've been writing for a long time, like everyone else has expressed, but it was on again, off again, because parenthood is busy. And then there came a point where I just couldn't put it aside anymore, and I had to just make a choice where it's like, if I'm gonna do this, it's time. So that book was what became Brightwash. And as I was writing it, I hit Twitter and I met Clayton, and I met Angela Board, who's a finalist from 2 years ago. And just knowing them and a lot of other people in the indie community showed me how viable it is as a method, as a career, potentially as a way to get stories out there. And so I watched Angela through her SPFBO year, SPFBO 5, and then I watched Michael through his SPFBO year, and I was like, you know what? Once again, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do everything I can to get as most eyes on it as possible. And I didn't think I'd get through. I thought I had some of the same concerns as Jen, where I know there's a lot of smooching in the book, and it's very hit or miss for people. So I didn't think I was going to get the spot. And then I did. And that's it, really. And so now I'm just kind of, trying to figure out all this life after a debut stuff, and also life in a contest stuff, and also marketing. But it's such a vibrant community to be a part of, and it's such a supportive community to be a part of. And I'm really glad that it happened this way, and I wasn't alone. I thought writing was a solitary thing until I met friends who understood that it's not, and we need each other, and it's really great.
Excellent. Superb. Now, I did say we might struggle to get all my questions into an hour, and I finally have 10 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is quick fire throw you out some questions sourced from the SPFBO Facebook page. So I'm just going to throw this open. Anybody who wants to answer, just jump in if you have anything you particularly want to say about these things. So the first one is, both Esme and Peter ask, have you read each other's books, and do you have a favorite? Fletcher, you don't have to answer this, we know. It's a controversial one too, because nobody wants to show favoritism, but anybody want to step up to that?
I mean, I can say I am utterly biased in my favorite, because I beta read Norelska Groans, and so if anyone's going to win, it's going to be the other book that I was part of. And I can say, there
you go, mutual love in between you guys. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anybody else got a favorite out of the other books?
I haven't got around to any yet. I've got them all on Amazon order for these new shelves. I'm looking forward to having a little SPFBO 7. Yeah, it's 7, isn't it? Shelf. Oh yeah, the reviews have been great. I'm really excited.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll move on to another one. Julia asks, most helpful and worst things about SPFBO. Who wants to step up to that one?
For me, the most helpful thing has been how supportive we are of each other. Everybody's very kind. It doesn't feel like a nasty competition. I mean, if it is, it's in everybody's head. They're not saying it out loud. Everybody's really supportive and nice, and just really tight. It's nice.
Yeah.
There's still 3 weeks to go. It could all turn in the next.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Tim's going to start sabotaging people soon.
Fantastic.
I think probably.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I don't know about anyone else, but I think for me the worst worst part of it has actually been the repetitive strain injury from scrolling on my phone
Yeah.
for like hours at a time.
Refresh. Yeah, the long
Excellent.
silent periods are in a way the hardest part, because that's when you get to think about what's going to happen, when's it going to happen, what's going to happen, am I going to be okay? And then it hits and it's a review and we're all okay, we've survived. Like it's the not knowing was the worst part for me.
The next 3 weeks are going to be the new worst part.
Shut up, Fletcher.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
I think he's
You
right.
need to know that.
All right. Do you have a favorite slush pile approach out of all the different slush pile approaches that the blogs use? Lucas asks, do you have one that you think is the best?
We've talked about this a little bit. It's hard because
It
this is volunteer and it's a lot of work, and so I don't want to sit here and be like, you should do it this
You
way,
have
you know what
to.
I mean?
Yeah.
But it can get a little bit. I like the smaller blogs that are 1 to 3 people where everybody had been able to read the book. I feel like it evens out what we're looking at. So when you get the blogs that have tons of readers, maybe you draw folks that are your audience, maybe you don't, and it kind of skews, what the scores are. And I mean that's kind of the nature of the competition, but that's been what we've discussed as far as slush pile and how people go about it. But again, I'll just re-caveat, it's a lot of work. You guys are awesome. Thank you for doing it.
In free time.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good answer. All right. And what else? Marcella asks, any advice for future SPFBO contestants?
Form a community. Get yourself a little Discord together.
Yeah.
Chat about it.
Band together.
Especially for the finalists. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a competition. It's fun. It's designed to approach.
It's marketing.
Yeah, it's marketing. It's
marketing.
Yeah. You should approach it from that, and then just keep up a straight face.
Not personal.
Yeah.
None of it is an attack on your competence or your value as a human being. It's art is subjective, period. It's just marketing. And if you don't attach personal feelings into it, which is admittedly really hard because we do work really hard on these books, and we kind of write our heart and souls into some of these books, but at the end of the day, it is a product, we are selling it, and this is a marketing opportunity. Absolutely.
Good advice. All right, very quick fire. We got a few minutes left. I'm going to just ask you all to tell us what you're working on now, one at a time. So let's start with Holly. What are you working on now?
I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I have my second book in the Vanguard Chronicles series coming out at the end of this month. So it comes out on the 21st. So it will be ebook, paperback, and audiobook. I am super excited to get it out into the world, especially like as I'm bringing out what will probably be the last week to 10 days of SPFBO. So,
excellent timing.
Great timing, I know. So and then after that I'm gonna take a little break just to work on some kind of side projects, and then I'll be back into the series probably kind of mid this year, writing up book 3.
Fantastic. Clayton, what are you working on now?
I have kind of a sci-fantasy action movie thing in edits right now, and then I think my next book might be a horror novel.
All right, cool. Lauren, what are you working on?
So I am working on a second edition of my debut novel, Marauder, that I mentioned earlier. Brand new cover, extensively rewritten. Really excited to kind of bring that book up to kind of my current quality. Hopefully will be out this summer along with the sequel to The Iron Crown.
Fantastic. Krystle, you're working on the Bright Wars sequel, is that right?
Yeah, I'm working on Legacy of Brick and Bone, the direct sequel to Brightwash. I just got an absolutely amazing and insightful and thorough edit letter from a paid editor that I use, and I'm really excited to dig into the themes that they felt like I had flinched away from, and so it's going to be really good. I'm excited.
Okay, Virginia's shouting at me, telling me to wrap up, so I've got to ask you all to keep it to like 1 or 2 sentences. Jen, what are you working on?
Sorry, I was muted. Book 4 in the series, which is Ice and Ivy. So.
Fantastic. Fletch, what's on your agenda?
New thing, Anthony Ryan's Bloodsong meets Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time, The Storm Beneath the World. Boom.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Kerstin, what are you working on?
Book 3 of the Burn Red Sky series, and I'm also working on a lovely fantasy anthology called The Alchemy of Sorrow, which is 13 short stories by 13 fierce authors. I am not one of them. I am illustrating for the anthology.
Fantastic. Tim, what are you up to?
Yeah, I'm also working on the next installment in the Brotherhood of the Eagle, so book 3, Lost Gods. I'm determined to get that out this year at an unspecified date.
Fantastic. And Ben, wrap it up for us. What are you working on?
I'm working on To Kill a God, book 3 of Skeleton. I've got a book which it's coming out this summer with Demon's Reign, Avatar meets Venom, and otherwise working on the second one of the Kickstarters for the Amaneska series.
I also like the Avatar meets Venom. That sounds cool.
It's going to be
I like
fun,
the sound of
hopefully.
that. All right. Okay. Well, I've got like half a dozen other questions that we're not going to get to, but you know, here we go. We have an hour. It's been really cool.
Why don't you post them on Twitter and we can go over there at our leisure?
I will do that
with the questions. Yeah,
that's an awesome
I bet
idea,
they're good
Krystle.
questions.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. I'll post more questions on Twitter and you guys can answer them on there. That's an outstanding idea. Right. So thank you guys for being here. I've really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you all a bit better. Next up for QuaranCon, the next panel is called What Does Fantasy Get Away With That SF Doesn't? RWW Green will be talking to Joyce Hertzhoff, Patrick Leclerc, Rachel Emma Shaw, also a finalist last year, Neil Williamson, and Can Wong. Don't forget about the book sale on the QuaranCon website, and the merch is also available there. And if you want to follow the SPFBO competition to conclusion, the best place to do that is the SPFBO Facebook page, where you can also ask any further questions, and I'm sure these guys will happily jump on and answer them there, as well as apparently on Twitter, where we're going next. Ask all the questions I didn't get to ask. So thanks for being here, and cheers, guys. Well done, and good luck to all of you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.